person, and we're going through department budget proposals, as it looks like we're going to make a decision later today as to the direction that we want to take our upcoming budget. So the first person to speak to us today is our fire chief, Josh Myers. Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you want to lead, or do you want us to start with questions?
I'd like to lead, if that's okay.
Certainly.
That's a yes.
Sorry.
What's that?
I
The fire
apologize.
truck says, or the train whistle says yes.
So as we're going through the budget, I'll go through everything because it's important that I'm very transparent about what we're spending money on. But throughout the process, I have two recommendations. I have two needs that I'm going to explain, and then I have one ask out of the budget. So that's kind of how I broke it down tonight, or today, excuse me. So I'm going to be showing it up here because I can click through it and kind of show you what any changes we make would look like for our specific budget real time. But I've also provided you with pass outs of what I'm going to be going off of up top because it's kind of hard to see up there. So I'd like to, it's the same thing that.
Same thing. Okay.
So I'd like to start at the top with income/revenue for our department for the proposed 2026-2027 budget summary. So the first one, ambulance charges, I want to talk about that. Looking at the overall budget this year, on page 2 of that, it talks about basically our revenue as a whole, and it uses the word estimated revenue. But then when you look at page 3, when you specifically, when it lists ambulance charges, I know it seems trivial, but I'd like it to say, estimated ambulance revenue, because this is very much an estimation. It is data driven. It's not like I'm just throwing numbers on the wall, but it's an estimation. And I think a lot of unneeded attention gets brought on ambulance charges and where do we stand and how are we looking this year, and that's not the intent of this. This is cost recovery. We can't make people pay their bills. As times get harder and everyone's bills go up, ambulance bill is just yet another bill, right? So I worry that if we're putting so much attention and using that as a concrete number, excuse me, that would be problematic. So that's an ask, if we can rename that. But I presented the mayor with $550,000 for the year 2026-27. I see the mayor's proposed budget reflects a number of $575,000. I don't know why that is, but I'd also like to reduce this. I'd like to see the number $450,000 on there. Do I think we're going to overshoot $450,000? I absolutely do. But I don't want to use this word, but I'm very comfortable, very, very, very comfortable with the number 450 because I know we will exceed that, right? So that's something I ask or I recommend. That's one of my recommendations to the board is reducing this to 450. So I'd like to do that on here just so we can see it as we continue.
If you wouldn't mind for a second is, if you can explain, because the public is watching this.
Absolutely.
We've all had discussions about recovery and all the things that come into this. One, the advantage different on your residents, but two, the impact that lack of insurance or type of insurance or what they do and what they don't pay, because I think that's an eye-opener for the public, that trying to recover money, especially either through insurance or Medicare, Medicaid, can be a difficult situation.
Yeah, I can explain that real fast. So if a resident of ours needs the ambulance, calls 911, we come to wherever they are, we treat them, we transport them to the hospital. If the bill, I'm just going to use easy numbers, if the bill is $1,000 and the insurance only covers $800, then that's a $200 copay. That's what that is, right? Our residents don't pay copay, that's written off. So they do not get a bill for anything that's not covered from insurance. So that's a very positive for living, right? We're providing them this service, which we should, right? We're providing them a level of service and they're not being taxed for or burdened with any extra payment that the insurance that they have might pay. That is not applicable for our non-residents, right? So visitors, travelers, everything like that, it does not count. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Fire protection services other, the next line under revenue is, that's our town of Pomfret contract. So that's going up from last year. So that's what we'll pay in March of 2027. So that number is reflected in there. Ambulance debt collection, that's anyone that does unfortunately does not pay their bill. We do have a contract with a debt collection service. We do not pay them. They get paid through their recovery abilities. So we average about $15,000 to $17,000 a year on that, so that's a good number. And then recertification reimbursement, that's, we pay for this service for our providers, our EMTs, our paramedics. The state reimburses us every year that we submit a package. So that's number reflected in there. That's pretty constant every year. So with me adjusting that $550,000 that I presented to the mayor, I know it says 575 in his budget, but me reflecting that to $450, that would equal $1,026,000 would be our, I will use the word hard revenue, right? Because that's why I wanted to adjust that ambulance charges to make it more of a very, very solid number.
When you submitted your budget to the mayor, what number did you have there?
I had 550 there.
What made you decide that?
To reduce it?
Yeah, that wasn't realistic.
Because of how much attention is on it, right? That I don't like it. Simple as that. Too much attention gets brought on every single month, right? I'm providing these reports to the board saying, this is where we're at for our revenue. But I don't know the purpose behind that. I think this ambulance cost recovery is a added benefit for us. Because let's face it, if no one pays their bills tomorrow, are we still going to provide the service? Probably, right? So that's why I adjusted that. We will hit 550 this year. It's going to be very close. I think we're going to be just above it. We're on track. I think last month's report that I submitted, we were 3/4 of the way through the year, and we were at 77% on that pie chart. So we're right where we need to be, right? But the more I thought about this, and yes, this thought came after I presented to the mayor, but the more I thought about it we're going into troubling times, not only for us, but for everyone. So really, should we kind of leave a buffer there that if we find ourselves in a problem, because of so much attention's on, if I say 550 and I really think it's going to be 550 and we fall short, what does that mean, right? Am I going to be standing up here explaining to the board why we're short? So that's more of that thought process there.
Let's give you ours. That's where we're tracking right now.
What's that?
The 575 is where we are tracking right now.
Right.
That's where Alyssa and I came up with it. I understand the chief's, I understand where the chief's coming from, though, because that is a focal point. The only thing, and I'm not saying this, I agree with the chief's suggestion, but you know how people can go, okay, well, they're trying to make it look better than it's going to be. We picked the 575 because to date, that's where we felt that it's tracking at the end of this year. But also, the world has changed in the last 5 months. Even worse than it was before in some cases. So I don't disagree with what the chief is saying.
I do like the idea of putting estimated.
Those accounting codes are all coded for
Oh, are they?
the
Okay.
state, so.
Okay.
Again, it seems trivial, but it's just, if I was a taxpayer looking at that, I'd be like, oh, that's a hard number, right?
My one concern is, by going down 100,000, that's almost 2%, essentially a 2% tax increase that we're baking in to your budget onto our overall tax rate. So that takes us maybe from a 2% proposed tax increase to a 4%. So.
And I'm understanding that, and I'm sensitive to that, but hearing you say that, right, a revenue item in my budget is affecting the whole village's. Yeah, so it's,
Yeah.
you can kind of see, right, that puts a lot of pressure on me now.
It does, it does.
And that's not a guarantee, so I can't stand here, I have no control over that. I have no control if people pay their bills, so I can't.
Absolutely.
That's
right.
why this is just a recommendation, right? I don't know, if the board wanted to keep 550 in there, that's what I ran, I'd like to know why would we put it at 575? 'Cause I don't think we're gonna hit that this year.
I think, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. No, I would love it. I'd love to hit 800,000. I just get worried because every single month, so much attention is brought on this topic, and I have no control over that topic. So it puts us in a very vulnerable position to budget on we think we're going to get this.
Yeah, and we don't know what's happening to people's insurances and, just that.
God forbid there are no ambulance calls in the village for 3 months, or outside the village for 3 or 4 months, right? Like,
No.
just let's say there's no car accidents, there's nothing, there's no emergency. Then we're proposing something that we don't have any control over, right?
Any revenue source
Yeah.
we're proposing is
Right.
estimated, and we have no control over it.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying,
We can go based
so.
on numbers that we currently have, and that's about where we have to
What the
start.
public has got to understand is everybody budgets based on 5-year, 10-year projections, last 3 years, where we are currently today, what we expect. That's 101 of making budgets. The pressure isn't so much on the general public, and I don't want to get political here. Pressure's on the ridiculousness of social media, people who don't watch these things, who don't take the time to look at the work that goes into a budget. Nobody's fluffing their budget. Nobody's padding their budget. Nobody's trying to make a budget look good. You're trying to do the best you can with what you have. And each department, as I've said thus far, that brought their projections to me, have been reasonable and have done their best job. And the sooner the public realizes we're doing the best job with what we have, with lower population, lower tax revenues, and higher cost, then you will understand the budget process, not just for Fredonia, but for all communities. Go ahead, Chief.
Chief,
I'm off mic.
could you comment on, we've talked about this before, the change in the New York State law regarding debt collection, and how that would impact your estimation here?
I could. Not sure if that would be a good idea, but New York State law changed where a person can no longer have medical bills put on their credit report. So if I have a medical bill for $200 and our collection agency comes after me, I can just do nothing because the end result is nothing. So that's
That's been in place for a little while, hasn't it?
about a year.
About a year?
Yeah, mid
So
last
that's-
year, I think. Don't quote me, but around a year it's been in place, right? Which not a lot of people know about it. Hopefully not a lot of people watching this meeting, but they very much could.
Oh,
Yeah.
I get your point.
Yeah.
I'll be out there tomorrow morning. Chief says, don't pay your medical bills.
I don't mean to publicize it, but we got to face the reality of it.
You're exactly right.
Yes.
You're exactly right. The tools to get that money are becoming more and more
But that's not the
difficult for us.
case for the residents of this village, it's for the outside.
It's for anyone that has a deductible, right?
Right.
That monies that aren't covered under insurance.
Right.
And insurance rates continue to go up, right? Every year, I do raise the rates at the recommendation of our third-party ambulance billing company, right? And what a rate increase looks like is they just look at insurances, right? They're not just saying, oh, let's charge them more money. It's okay, what will all of the insurance agencies pay us or pay out for a ALS type 1 call, right? And if our number is below that, we bump it up, right? Just leave money on the table if we don't do that. So that's our revenue there. I adjusted that to 575 just for my workbook here. So 1,151,000 is our revenue. If the board's okay with it, I'd like to go to capital expenditures next. Explain that. So capital expenditures on this is what I presented to the mayor here, and obviously you have subsequently what his proposal is. That striker cot, that's our gurneys, right? That's what we have in the back of the ambulances. We currently have 3 of them. The manufacturer life on these cots is 7 years. We have 3. 2 of them are 12 years old, and 1 of them is 7 years old. So by definition, all 3, our manufacturer recommendation is to replace them. So a new cot costs $38,250. In this budget, you'll see it's reflected $19,125. That's because the volunteers are writing in their budget to pay half of this. So I thank them for their teamwork, but that's on there. The mayor did keep that in the budget. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, appreciate it. The second thing on there is a roof replacement. That's over the apparatus bay only. It's not the entire roof. I've been speaking to this board for years now that we have leaks. They are getting worse. I'm not a roof guy, but I would imagine, you know, the roof's getting worse because of the leak. It's probably going horizontal and vertical, but, you know, we have a lot of expensive apparatus and equipment inside there. So 60,000, the mayor kept it in there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
If you can hang on to that for just 1 second. You know, I know we've been, or I have been, in the paper for saying that someone saying that that's, you know, my proposal about adding the police department to the current fire department was excess expenditure. Adding that piece to the fire department would also fix that roof at the same time under the same grant and would save our residents thousands of dollars and possibly millions of dollars over building a brand new building. So this would be an addition to the fire department, and it would replace, it would be addition to the current fire department headquarters, but it would also serve the purpose of replacing or fixing the roof on the entire building as well. Personally, I call that a smarter plan. So that's why that 60,000 could be wrapped into part of a project of adding to that building to add a police department. And thus far, both police chief and fire chief agree that that is a good plan. That actually saves us money over other options at this time. We're not sure where we're going to be with the merging of the police department with the city of Dunkirk. That may take a while. The fire department's roof is in need of repair. So it serves two purposes, not just one. Sorry, Chief, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Personal protective equipment, that's the turnout gear. That's the fire gear that the firefighters wear. I presented 2 sets. That's $12,000. On the mayor's budget, it was cut to 1 set. This brings me on to my first of the 2 needs. This is a need. We need 2 sets. We really need more than 2, but.
Can I ask you a question? So what is the lifespan of a turnout gear?
10 years.
10
years per NFPA requirements for interior firefighters, right?
Okay.
So I can take a set that's 11 years old and give it to an exterior fireman,
Right.
firefighter, excuse me. But for interior firefighting, it's 10 years.
And how many sets of those do you have on hand most at any given time?
That are within date,
Within date?
probably 18. I'd have to actually, because all of our career firefighters, myself, we have 2 volunteer interior that have it. So 18 to 20. The reason I need to is we have 2 new hires, right? We have Ryan Martin, who's in the academy now. He is wearing used gear that's out of date. Again, not a problem when we're doing training and stuff like that, but I'll need to get that individual fitted for an actual set of gear that's fitted for him. And then we just had that recent hire of Morgan Melbourne, right? So I need to outfit him. So that's why I hate the word need, but it's a need.
It's 12,000 for 2 sets?
Yes, it's 6,000 a set.
Okay.
And that's just the structural gear, right? That's not the helmets, the hoods, the gloves. That comes from equipment safety line. So this is
Okay.
just purely the.
Also wondering if we may not be able to apply to some local charitable organizations on those funds.
Yeah, and this was talked about, Trustee Esserson, I mean, probably 3 years ago, we had to spend ARPA money. I don't remember how much it was. It was like 60,000 because for years we went without, right? We have to replace every few years, which we've done the last 2 years. If we don't keep that pattern up, I'm going to be coming to the board 6 years from now saying, hey, I got to buy 20 sets, right? So that's.
Yeah, we just fall further and further behind every year.
Yeah, you have to rotate them.
Yeah.
You have to.
And then vehicle exhaust system, that's the exhaust system that's in the apparatus bay. That's required by cancer law, required by NFPA. We have one. It's old. The reason some attention was put on this is the 2 new apparatus that we have, the engine and the ladder truck, they won't work with the current system. So there is a way to outfit them, which is explained later in the budget I'll talk about. Just those 2 stalls, we can outfit them to work. But I'm just kind of thinking ahead here and saying, well, the cost of outfitting those 2 is $8,000. How much is it going to be for the whole system? And he gave me a quote for just shy of $35,000. So we wrote that in. That's not something I'm going to not going to die on that sword. If that's something we need to push down the road, then we push, but I just want to bring it to the attention of, it's something that will be back, in a proposed budget moving forward. Any questions with capital expenditures? All right, we can come up to, so our budget's divided into two. There's a fire budget, there's an ambulance budget. I can rip through the ambulance budget pretty quick. We have personnel and personnel overtime. That's just split between fire and EMS, so it's just half of that. Supplies, let me flip through with you. So supplies, I wrote in 17,500. I didn't list all these. You're seeing the other ones. I listed actually what I'm spending on. It's just too hard. I can't list every single medicine and Band-Aid on here, but I wrote it for 17.5. The mayor kept it 17.5. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's very definitely important for us to have those. Going back to EMS supplies, travel training. This is what makes up that $10,000 that I'm asking for. We'll be sending firefighter Martin to paramedic school. Again, that's going to be through Erie County EMS. Their rate is $5,000. It's a great rate, so we're sending them up there again. Continuing education requirements, $2,500. Our alphabet courses that's required for continuing education for our providers, and then EMS training, books, props, stuff like that. That works up to $10,000. So the mayor kept that at $10,000. Thank you. And please stop me if you have any questions as I'm going through this. Contractual.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain, I know the board is here and they understand what's going on, but we're being watched as we do this. Can you explain the difference in certification and or training for an indoor and interior and exterior firefighter, so people understand that there is a difference and what that difference is?
Well, I'd have to break it down even further. There's different training qualifications for volunteers as there is career, right? So speaking about the volunteer first, when a volunteer joins an organization, ours, just like everywhere else, they can go to a course called BFO, Basic Exterior Firefighting Operations, 63-hour course, and then they can continue on to what's called IFO, Interior Firefighting Operations. That's, I teach it, I should know this, but let's just say another 60-hour course, right? So if they want to be an interior firefighter, they have to take both those classes. Then they have to do in-house training, like bailout training. How do you get out of a window safely if you're trapped on the second floor? They have to do things like radio communications, all that stuff. That is all you need per state standard, best practices, and per the policies that I have in place to be an interior firefighter as a volunteer. There is a place for exterior firefighters, right? They can throw ladders, they can pump the fire truck, they can do things like that. So we do have volunteers that join and say, hey, listen, I want to be a firefighter, but I don't want to go inside. And they would just take that BFO course, a 63-hour course. For career, well, then they have continuing education, right? So they have to do 12 hours if they're a driver. They have to do 12 hours of driver training every year. They have to do ladder training, all kinds of stuff. The career firefighters are all interior. There's no such thing as an exterior career firefighter. They go to a fire academy, or they get reciprocity of that fire academy. So fire academy that Ryan Martin's currently at, that's a 4-month academy. So they get an extensive amount. When he comes out of the academy, I'm going off memory, but he has firefighter 1, firefighter 2, truck company, survival, driver operator, fast. I mean, he has a whole slew of training, and all of that adds up to what's called a 229 certification. So that's a 229. And then annually, the career firefighters have to do 101 hours of training every single year, documented training, or we get in trouble, or I get in trouble. So that's what, you drive by the fire station or you see the Observer post a nice little picture of us training. That's what they're doing. They have to train every quarter, and that's put out by our municipal training officer, which is Captain Aldridge. So he tracks that and puts that out.
I guess my point is, for the general public, this is like running a sports team. Josh Allen doesn't play middle linebacker on defense as well as playing quarterback. A fire team, not everybody wearing a helmet and a jacket can go running into a building. It's not television. This is specialized training, and each of those people have roles, whether they're driving the truck, running the truck, and then you get into EMTs and all the health aspects of it, the emergency aspects of it. There's a lot to it. It's just not someone you see training in front of the fire hall they don't all have the same duties or qualifications.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I believe I left off at contractual. So EMS contractual, this is what we spend the money on, right? I asked for $76,663.01. This breaks down exactly what we're spending on. AT&T Air Cards, that's what goes in the life packs, the heart monitors that we carry in. They have the ability to transmit to the PCR, patient care report, and they have the ability to transmit to the hospital, right? If we have a questionable call and one of our medics needs help, they can actually call the doctor and transmit that. So it's really top-tier technology, which our residents are very happy to, or should be very happy to have. Medical oxygen, that's the oxygen that goes. We have a site on location, so we swap those out. We get those filled up, so $1,000 for that. Stryker PM, this is preventative maintenance for everything Stryker. So Stryker is our cots. Stryker is those stair chairs that we have. Stryker is the Lucas machine that does auto CPR. So this is a contract that we have or hope to enter into them to have them come in and do PM, find things that might be wrong with it, and then certify, hey, this stuff's good, we inspected it. So it's really important to us. Medical waste collection, this has gone down from historic years. We used to have a collection every quarter. About 2 months ago, I changed that contract with them to have them start coming every 6 months to save us a little money, because what we saw is they were coming every quarter, but we were sending partial boxes out, so it didn't make sense. So we're going to try that out. I can't promise it will stay. We might have to assess it another year, and maybe that's not enough, but that's kind of what that is. Lucas payment, that's the auto CPR things I just mentioned. We bought 2 of these 2 years ago. We entered a 3-year payment plan instead of paying a ridiculous amount of money up front. The volunteers pay half of this, so the payment is actually $17,000 and some change. Our half is $8,763. The good news is this is the last year for that, so that will come off of our expenditure report next year. PAB, that's a professional ambulance billing. That's our third-party EMS billing company that we use. That's just strictly looking at statistics on how many charts we do a month and what they charge. They charge us $35 a flat rate per chart, so that's $52,500. And then our annual fee for web-based services for EPCR, so that's what we get, $76,000. The mayor kept that as it was. Any questions with that? All right, moving on to fuel, not much to talk about here. This is just an average. I doubt this will go down. This could go up, right? We're kind of at the mercy of how much DPW is able to get the contract price for fuel, but we've done a pretty good job at fixing that or moving money around to cover that. So that's just an estimation for all 12 months. The last thing under ambulance services, maintenance equipment. I like to explain this. We do have 2 maintenance lines. One's EMS maintenance, and then we have a fire maintenance. And when we get to the fire maintenance, I'll explain that's fire trucks, but it's also the building. So that one's a little higher, and I'll explain why. So this is just EMS maintenance, oil changes, the utility vehicles we cover under this line. Windshield washer fluid, tire rotations are big. We identified that our front tires on the ambulances were going way too fast, and that's because there's a lot of weight in the box of that ambulance. So we, this halfway through this year, firefighter Bayless is our additional duty vehicle VCO, right? And he's done a good job identifying ways that we can try to extend that lifespan of those tires. So we do need to get new tires for ambulance 12, ambulance 13, and M19 this year. Next year. M19 was really due for tires this current year. We couldn't swing it, so we had to wait. New York State inspections, $150. Repairs for EMS equipment, power load stretcher, right? That's $2,500. If something breaks that's on an ambulance, this is where the money comes from. And then emergency light repairs, right? We have random stuff will go out. A grill light might go out, something like that, and that's what we replace. So I asked for $10,000. Mayor cut to $8,000, I believe. I'll make do, right? I'm not going to put too much attention on that.
So you got oil changes there. $1,200, who does those? Because we have a mechanic now that should be able to do oil changes.
Yeah, that's a great question, thank you. This is budgeted for a shop doing these oil changes. I have to protect myself, right, as a fire chief and execute a good budget. Until the village board has something in writing that says a DPW mechanic will do these, I have to budget for the latter. Or if that individual quits next week, well, what are we going to do? If I budget for the DPW guy doing it and he quits next week, then what, right? So I'd rather budget for the worser and hope for the better. Does that answer your question?
So the only thing stopping it is there's nothing in writing saying that he will do them?
Well, not only that would protect me saying, okay, well, now I know that individual's going to do it, but then also what would be, and this probably an impossible question to answer, but what would happen if that individual was no more? Would it be the village's intent to, is the village's intent to continue to have a village mechanic? So that would answer that, right? Okay, this guy leaves, we're going to hire someone else, chief. Okay, sounds good. Now I can kind of plan on that. But yeah, that would make me more comfortable, but
Right, and what kind of schedule is it gonna be? Like, is he's just gonna fit him in here and there? I mean, because we need it as
Yeah.
They're working on that right
Yeah,
now.
That's a good question, and I would think his schedule will be based on need, and obviously an ambulance is a higher need than a truck.
I would say,
Yeah.
but I just, so that it's like a schedule across the board, like
Yeah.
these days he works on ambulance, fire truck,
Yeah.
whatever, like without question, right? Like, and
They're doing a schedule for the entire village, all that, because he'll be
Good.
doing mechanics for the entire village.
And I think-
So this is working with the department heads to make sure that's done.
Yeah, we
Just a
would
question.
just, somewhere in writing, put emergency vehicles take priority over anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
so
sense.
I would feel comfortable putting that in writing.
good, I think that's a great
because
idea.
We have 2 mechanics now, actually,
Yeah.
so.
yeah, I mean, that would be great. I mean, I asked for 10, it was cut to 8, so maybe that would account for some of that, because that would also include the tire rotations, biannually by an ambulance.
Yeah.
Or, I
mean, that's-
don't want to speak to his ability, but I would imagine that would be something within his
And that was
scope
one
of
of the reasons
ability.
we hired him, to take care of these things, so let's make sure he is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, are we getting our money's worth from him?
Would that fall under asset management plan,
Yeah.
Probably,
I would think?
I would think. I mean,
It is an asset.
it's our
That we're
assets and
managing,
we
right, like-
must manage them.
I like that.
Does that need to be a
We
resolution?
have that in place, I just didn't know.
No, I just
Oh,
think we
extensive.
need
Yeah,
to
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we've had it for
Right.
2
get the
years.
plan all together and
Okay.
then write up something
just
and
tell-
then give each of the department heads.
Tell their supervisor that that's, yeah, okay.
This might be a dumb question, but, so A12 is ambulance 12. What does M stand for?
M stands for miscellaneous, right? So that's, which one specifically, M19?
Yeah.
So that's miscellaneous 19, so that's the vehicle that the assistant chiefs use. And because that's not given to a sole individual, we name it miscellaneous 19. And, when car 12 is in it, his call sign is car 12, or car 13's in it, his call sign's car 12, but just the vehicle itself. And that's because dispatch has to have a vehicle identifier for each thing, but, so that's M19, it's the Tahoe, it's a miscellaneous 19.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, if there's aren't any further questions, I'll move on to the fire protection expenses. So again, personnel and personnel overtime is just split between EMS and fire, so it's helpful that way. Going down the line, civil defense, which is assistant chief's pay. This has been, if this changed before my time, and someone knows, please speak up, but for as long as I've been here, the number has been 6,000, and that's split between, do you know, is it 3, 2, 1? I think it is.
3, 2, 1.
So the first assistant chief, which gets $3,000 a year as a stipend, that is paid weekly or biweekly. Second assistant chief gets $2,000 stipend a year, and the third assistant chief gets $1,000 a year. We do not have a third assistant chief. I do not see us having one this coming year either, right? And the reason behind that is there's a lot of classes and responsibilities, and I will only have the right people in those positions for the betterment of the organization and community. So when you look at the pass out and you look up here, I asked for $12,000 stipend for both of those individuals, so totaling $24,000. The reason I asked for that is it is a requirement by me as the chief that they will do 2 shifts a week, right? So that's who covers the nighttime from 6P to 6A when I'm not there. They have that Tahoe. So 2 shifts a week, right? They're 12 hours each. That equals 1,272 hours each that I make them do. That is a requirement to be in that position. So, you know, that $12,000 that I'm asking, we reflect their stipend to reflect, you know, that's $9.44 an hour is really what they're getting. This was cut in the mayor's budget back down to where it was, $6,000. A question that he asked me that I, you know, well, they're volunteers. Yes, they are volunteers, but the difference is the math that I'm presenting, right? I require them, right, as the chief to do that amount of hours towards our organization. So there's a unimaginable amount of training that goes with them. Well, not unimaginable, I could present that to you at any point, but when I was hired, I developed a training metrics. To be an assistant chief, you must have X, Y, Z. To be a lieutenant, you must have X, Y, Z. I didn't make that up. That was something I took right from New York State best practices. So they've earned their position. They're doing good in their position, and I would just like to give them a little something to show them my appreciation. This is, full disclosure, this is nothing compared to if I came to the board and said, I need to hire an assistant chief, right? That person would be making about $105,000 a year before benefits, before retirement contributions. That would be $170,000 per position. We're able to utilize volunteer assets for this. So that's, you know, that's my one ask, right? My one ask is to reflect that as my request. Can I answer any questions on that?
Yeah, what are your requirements for those 2 positions this year?
As far as what they're supposed to do?
Well, I mean,
training-wise?
because the budget for this fiscal year was $6,000. Are you maintaining $6,000? I mean, I guess if you went into this year with a $6,000 budget for civil defense personnel, and your requirements haven't changed from last year or from this current fiscal year to the next fiscal year, then I guess I don't understand the $18,000 increase if they're doing what they need to be doing for $6,000 now, hour-wise. Does that make sense?
It does, and kind of like how I answered Paul, that's going to be their decision. My standard will not change. I will not change my standard or what's required by them from the department, right? Because when I leave at the end of the business day, it goes back down to 3 firefighters, right? They have a career officer like a lieutenant or a captain, but it's really, really, really helpful to have that 4th person. So that's why I set the standard of each of you will do 2 shifts a week, right? And that standard came from when we had 3 assistant chiefs, right? Because I cover every Monday night. I work at 24 every single Monday. So they cover the other nights. To answer your question bluntly, that's up to them. If I say, hey, I tried, I couldn't get any money, then they're going to have to choose if they're okay continuing to do what's asked of them for the money, like the 2nd assistant chief, right? It's $2,000 a year. I'm asking you to do a lot for $2,000, right? I understand he probably joined the department not to get paid. He joined to serve his community, which I applaud. But I and we ultimately have to ask them to do a lot more than your normal volunteer, and that's why that reflects that. So I can't answer your question, I guess.
Let me ask you this, what if they both said, we're not gonna do this anymore?
What if they say that?
Yeah, what
That's
would,
within their right. They have to do
no,
it.
but what would your loss be?
Well, it'd be an operational impact, a huge one, right? It goes back to what I was saying of, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I'm gonna.
No.
We have 3, when I'm not working, right, we have 3 people on duty. It's very hard to do anything on the fire ground with 3 people. It's nearly impossible. You look at a fire department that's staffed the way it should be staffed, there's 4 people on each apparatus. So we have 3. So a very real example of this is if there's an EMS call right now, 2 of those 3 are going in the ambulance. If there's a second EMS call in 2 minutes from now, which statistically happens a lot, I've provided those reports. Right now, for example, I'm here, I'm committed. That person is going by themselves. So what are they gonna do, right? They have to wait on All-Star Ambulance to come. If All-Star's out of service, they have to call the city of Dunkirk, which, yeah, if they're available, they'll come help. But now we're depleting them to help us, which I get, might not be our concern, but that fourth individual meets them on scene with the Tahoe, and now is that second person for that call, right? They can drive an ambulance, they can provide patient care if they hold that certification. So it would be an impact for sure. I wouldn't have measurable results until it actually happened, knock on wood, but.
No, but required wise, I was just trying to see, what the impact would be on the department if you didn't have those 2 volunteers that were there, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's,
Yeah, I mean, I gave the example of the EMS call, right? I mean, it's prevalent with fire calls as well, right? One of these assistant chiefs shows up at a fire, they're able to assume the role of incident commander in my absence, where right now, if they don't show up, one of those 3 has to assume the role of incident commander. So now that number of 3 that I told you is already, it's impossible to do every task on the fire ground with 3. Now it's just removed to 2, so it has a ripple effect. And I don't want to stand here and tell you that they would quit tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying. I don't know that. I think we could give them a little more, right? And if that number is not 12,000, maybe there's something more digestible, but I definitely think an assistant chief should get a stipend a little more than $3,000 and $2,000. We should try to squeeze some money to do that. Our town of Pomfret contract continues to go up every year. That's more money that is generated by the fire department that, in my opinion, should be used for the fire department. Same thing with EMS revenue. Okay, moving on. So that, again, that's my one ask of the board. Going to equipment safety. It was important to me to list kind of everything and why I'm asking for that number 16,000. So advanced cleaning, decontaminants turnout gear. We do have a gear extractor, it's called. It's not called a gear washer. We do have a gear extractor. But any type of hazmat calls, any blood on the turnout gear, that has to, by standard, be sent out and cleaned, right? So that's the money that we allot for that. PPE repair, things happen, buttons breaks, zippers, fall off. So that's in there for an annual thing. SCBA equipment repair, $250, pretty minimal. We have to have those SCBAs is what we wear on our backs to breathe air. They have to be flow tested every single year. So sometimes when they're flow testing them, they come up with, hey, this is broken, we got to fix it, right? So we have to have some money in the budget for that. Meters, meter repair, cal gas required. Those are meters, 4 gas meters that someone calls for our service and says, my CO alarm's going off, right? That's what they come in and do that. So that's for, excuse me. Thermal imaging camera replacement, that's on here again. That was in this year. It wasn't able to happen, but this back in there this year. Portable radio repairs. We have enough portable radios for the people that work shift, right? So if one breaks, we got to get it fixed. So those things are very expensive, so it's nice to have a little money to repair those every single year. Accountability tag machine replacement. This is a big one. This is all of our folks carry 2 tags on them. They're plastic tags. This has a picture of them, says their ID number. That's for accountability purposes. If they go into a scene or into a fire or something, they have to give those to me or the assistant chief. That's how I know they're inside. We do those in-house. Our accountability machine broke a year and a half ago. I was unsuccessful in getting it into this current year's budget. I really need to get it into this year's budget so we can print some lost ones, print some new members that we received. We've also helped DPW out. They've asked for us to print tags for them for IDs, so when they're going into someone's house. So we've done that for them also, but we have had a request for those, and I've had to tell Jen we can't do it because our machine's down. Traffic incident management safety items, that's like cones, vests, stuff like that, $500 a year. Exhaust removal system maintenance, so this is what I was talking about here. They come in every year and inspect that. I'll have to get creative if we're unable to get that full exhaust system replaced. I'll have to get creative and outfit those specific bays with one, which this will only cover half, and I'll have to get creative with the other half. Firefighter bailout systems, harnesses on the mayor's point, right? All interior firefighters have to have this. This is New York state law. So we have to, those again have the same 10-year lifespan. That's for real world and training. So once 10 years hit, those are out. Good thing about these is it's kind of one use and done. knock on wood, we've never had to use them, but what's good news is if we do have to use them, they replace it for free, right? Because that saved the life of a firefighter. You send it back to them, they send you a new one, so that's really cool. That kind of goes in the same thing of we can't wait till they're all expired to buy all of them. So every year, I bought two, maybe 3 this year, I can't remember, but every year we buy a few. And then PPE elements, this is your gloves, hoods, SCBA masks, all that stuff. For $750. So I requested $16,000. The mayor's budget reflected $13,000. I want to take a second and talk on that if I could. So for the last 3 years, right, I've come and I've asked for equipment safety needs and I've expressed why we need them. In 2023-24 budget, it was reduced by $3,000. 24-25 budget, it was reduced by $11,300. And this current year's budget, 25-26, it was reduced by $6,000. So the last 3 years, you know, we've had a reduction of $20,300. So I bring that up not to throw rocks, but to just talk about this is what we're spending the money on. This is equipment safety items. This is important. I can't explain how going without $20,000 over the last 3 years has impacted us. And we haven't bought new SCBA masks because we've had cuts, right? So I just bring that to you, right? So that's my second of 2 recommendations to the board of if you tell me, hey, you're at 13,000, nothing we can do about it, I'll make it work. But the reason it's a recommendation to let's put a little more in there is because things I go without again, it's going to reach a point where I'm going to come to the board and say, well, now we have to buy 10 masks instead of 3. So now this, so I just wanted to explain that a little bit. And, you know, it's absorbed through, you know, deferrals. It's not absorbed through the elimination of the need. And I want you to know that. I'm kicking the can down the road, and we've done that before, and it doesn't work.
Chief, let me explain from our end, and you do a great job managing your budget. Nobody ever questions that. But these numbers were picked because, Alyssa and I go through the budget every year, and even though you've had a decrease in your requests, you even haven't spent entirely what you've been given. So that's why we felt that the cut could be.
Thank you. I'm so happy you asked that. I haven't spent it because when I come to the board and say I need to buy a thermal imaging camera that's in my budget, the request is denied. So I budget for these things, and then I still have to ask permission to spend it.
I see.
So I understand your thought of, let's look at the budget, what did we spend the last 3 years, but specifically talking about 24-25, if you remember, in February, the budgets were eliminated. Hey, you're not spending any more money. So we can't look at that number. So I understand, but yeah.
Okay.
I promise you, right? Like, so let's use equipment safety, for example. If the board approves 11,000 or 13,000, I have a need and I will execute $13,000. But it gets very difficult when I have to say, hey, I need to buy this, you know, what do you think? Well, from a department head standpoint, not critiquing the board, but from a department head standpoint, this is the time for things to be approved or denied and have those conversations. And once it's approved, why am I asking again? That doesn't make sense to me. Any other questions with equipment safety?
Yeah, I do want to ask about the tag machine. Do we have one in the police department by any chance?
Not to my knowledge, but I don't know that answer.
What is the possibility, knowing that we need new tags when we have new employees, which we have, and having a machine has been an advantage, right?
Right.
I have to believe with the printing companies around town that if we know that we have people coming on, new policemen, new fire chiefs, that while it would be fantastic to have our own, and I understand the importance of having our own, I mean, and this is not a shot at Chief. I think I've made it pretty clear that he does a great job with his budget. But every department's coming back saying, well, the stuff you took out I really need. Well, we all really need what we take out, and I get it and I understand. And when you're talking about police and fire, it's a little bit different because people's lives are on the ground. But the same could be said about the guys who are 40 feet deep in mud and slush and everything else. God forbid that never happens. So we all need what we all need, but where would you like to cut a budget and cut back on the tax increase if we take nothing out of any budget? So I understand exactly where Chief's coming. It's a very frustrating position for him to be in. I also understand when you think that you have something in a budget that's already been earmarked and suddenly it's not there anymore. I understand that frustration. But I think in some cases, like maybe these tags, I understand they're important. You're sending a person into a building and hoping that, he needs to know where all his people are.
They're essentially an ID, aren't they?
They are, it's just printed on an ID card.
But the idea, I'm wondering, and now, but you would also
I
have to
could
explain
see
to whatever company does that,
The
that
village
you can't wait to
needing
get
an
it done in
ID
6 months.
machine, but maybe one ID machine for the whole village.
And this is a smaller desktop one, right?
Yeah.
There's
Right,
big
right.
ones that,
Right.
if there was a need village-wide, I would say, well,
I mean-
have the village buy one, and then.
I worked for an agency of about 3,500 people, and we had one desktop machine that served all 3,500 people. We were hiring a couple hundred people a year. I think we could do with one machine and make sure it serviced our police, our fire, our DPW.
And I think that's what he's
Everybody
trying to
needs
do,
an ID.
but unfortunately, it comes directly out of his budget, you know what I'm saying? So,
Right, but I think we need to find out, do we have one already somewhere else?
or if it's possible to get them done locally, fast and cheap,
Yeah?
Excuse me one
or
second.
reasonable, let's say reasonable.
I mean, we're only talking 1,000, but every 1,000 counts, so if there's another
We're
alternative.
talking about going from
let's
2% to
definitely-
4% tax increase on one line, but a budget line, and we're only halfway through the budget.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Chief, go ahead.
All right, left off on equipment safety, be going to supplies next. All right, fire department supplies. Again, I just want to go through full transparency of what we're spending money on. So, building janitorial supplies, paper towels, toilet papers, cleaners, that's not the whole list of things, that's just, snapshot. Office supplies, that's pretty self-explanatory. Batteries, right, we use a lot of batteries, our SCBA's require batteries, flashlights, everything requires batteries these days. Building station consumables, right, light bulbs, everything that's like that, is one small example. Extracted detergent, gear decon wipes, that's a specific detergent that we have to use in that gear extractor. We have gear wipes that are carried on the thing for rapid decon, that's shown over, cancer research that wiping things like your neck, your armpits, your wrists, before you go back to the station, that helps reduce your effects for cancer. Inventory stickers, we have our custom inventory stickers for all of our items all of our items get inventory stickers. Any item over $500 gets an inventory number, and that gets a sticker as well. So that's really important for fire service, right? We are on scene with other departments. It's nice to have our stuff labeled. Absorbent, that's things that suck up combustible liquids on the ground, right? Oils, gases, stuff like that. And then miscellaneous supplies. I know we don't like that word miscellaneous. It's impossible to list everything that I use this line for. I asked for 13,000, 10,000 was presented. I will make do with that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have, generally for the board, but every department needs janitorial supplies, right? Like every building, DPW, fire, police, this building. Is there a way do we buy in bulk? And split it up? Or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To cut down on the expenditure, right? Is there a better way? I'm just saying, is there a better way to buy those supplies? Then they get divvied out to what department needs them. Whatever, they put in a request, I need 60 rolls of toilet paper. I mean, I'm just exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying. I don't know if maybe there's a better way to do that. Soap, hand soap for the bathrooms, toilet paper, paper towels, that kind of thing. Maybe there's a better way to buy those things that's cheaper for the village. That would maybe cut this and everybody's budget down to
Right.
1,500 or, 1,000 each.
And drop, ship, and distribute. It's
Yeah.
an easy way of doing it, yeah.
I just, maybe that's something we need to look into.
But again, what Chief is saying too is that certain things that he uses, no other department would use, right?
Absolutely. I'm
With
just
the
talking
wipes
about
and those types of things, yeah.
No, I'm
But I
just
know what
talking
you're
about in general,
Yeah.
those supplies,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, every building uses toilet paper, every building uses soap, every building needs cleaning supplies. I mean, it's just, yeah, without a doubt.
I'm just thinking that
Paper, office paper, pens. and
maybe
all that
there's a
stuff.
way to do that in a more bulk kind of way to save money.
Yeah, I know when we buy our stuff, we get all off Amazon, and we get a business rate, which is cheaper than just doing it in regular Amazon.
It is, I'm just not sure that maybe there's a vendor out there that
Yeah.
would do it cheaper, that's all, than
Yeah.
Amazon, right? Like if we did a bulk,
Paper towel order.
paper towel order, toilet paper order, or, cleaning supplies, like not your specific cleaning supplies, but like stuff that we use to mop floors.
We get
and-
it, we get it, yeah. Well, again, that can be done, that could be, it could be office supplies, it could be, I know each different vehicles use different tires, that type of thing, but we've already made an effort to draw our mechanical work inside, which is save money. We have to take a look at that for every level, everything we do.
I remember that, my budget would come out and they'd say, how much paper did you use this year? Because your budget's due, you need a budget for paper for next year. Well, I couldn't operate my office without paper, right? So I literally kept track of how many boxes of paper I went through so that I could make sure that I ordered enough for the next year, right? So, there's a way to project those things to get a better rate. I'm just trying to help the budget. Like, if we're not spending this part in your budget, then maybe we can put it towards that part.
Right.
Chief, do you use, regarding batteries, use a lot of batteries, correct? Have you considered rechargeable?
No. I would have to check with the manufacturer of our SCBA's though,
Okay.
to see if that was allowed, because they require a certain battery in there.
I see.
And I should have been more prepared to have that, but, so it's a certain battery because it's like a life safety, it's in fire and heat and all that
Oh,
stuff.
right.
I could ask that question, but,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, and we save them, so, like an SCBA battery, for example, right, that has to come out when it's at half-life. They do daily checks on these. So we don't just throw them out, right? We take that half-life and we throw it into a box, and that's what's used for the things like clickers or mouses, and so we fully utilize those batteries,
Okay.
yeah. Utilities, fire utilities, again, this is just average. These prices continue to go up, unfortunately, but that's kind of what we did. I would, not to go off on a tangent, but after we get the roof replaced on the apparatus bay, I would really, really like to look at solar panels for on top of that roof, because that roof gets some light, and I think that could really help us, but no sense in looking at it until we get the roof fixed, right? So that's kind of a step approach, but I would really be interested, and I will be looking at how that might be able to help not only our building, but
Maybe that's a way to get the roof replaced, though.
maybe. Yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
let's look
Yeah.
at some grant there. That just clicked in my head because
Yeah,
Well, again, there's a major project that can be bundled into one project: police, fire, roof, solar plant.
Yeah.
And it's going to save hundreds of thousands of dollars over years.
And it will.
Yeah.
Even if we only cut our electric use by a third, it's still going to add up significantly. So
Yeah.
that would be great.
on to the next, fire travel training. I broke everything down there. So I want to explain this first line, potentially one fire academy attendance. So the last individual we just hired, firefighter Melbourne, I am going down the route of giving him reciprocity. But I that's not done until it's done, right? So
I'm sorry, can you explain what
I
reciprocity
can,
is?
yeah.
Okay.
So earlier when I explained the fire academy, how they go to the fire academy, they get, I'll just use 10 classes, right? They get 10 classes while they're there. We can give reciprocity to someone that possesses the required certifications, but also qualifications, right? So they can come to us and say, yeah, I already have all these classes. But then we set them through some type of evaluation to make sure that they possess the skills associated with those. So in this case, firefighter Melbourne has 85–90% of the needed classes. You actually see on this workshop next week, you'll see I'm sending him down to the academy for 2 days of codes class to get something he's missing, right? So if he's successful in getting everything he needs, I, as the fire chief, can give him reciprocity. I fill out a packet, it's a 3-portion packet, and I sign off, and I attach all of his certs, and basically I'm owning the liability, saying that this individual's good, and they will give that recruit a 229 equivalent, so we would not have to send him to the academy. The reason I have it in the budget still is until that's done, it's not done. So I would hate to say, I don't need to send them, and then something happens where I'm saying, we got to send them. So, I think we kept it at 10, right? So that 3,500 would allow me to kind of transfer that somewhere else with some shortfalls that, we've identified. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Chautauqua County weekends on there. That's gone down. We used to send a lot more people to that. That's like they do an annual training here at the fairgrounds. They bring in state fire instructors. It's really prevalent for the volunteers. They go and get refresher training, or kind of that training that the mayor asked me what they have to do every year. New York State Chiefs Conference, that's something they go to in Syracuse. We didn't send anybody this year, but it's something they really like going to, so I wrote that in there. New York State trainings, I don't have to read all of this, but mile travel reimbursements, books, class supplies. The state career chiefs fire meetings, that's for me. There's a monthly meeting. I only go usually once a quarter. I haven't been in a while. I feel bad, but that's for that. Professional development is something that we have to do, right? I have to send these officers to continue training to sharpen their ability. And then training aids for $450. So that adds up to $10,000. That's already precedent. Mayor kept it at $10,000. Thank you. Appreciate this. Contractual, this is a big one. So fire contractual, these are, I wanted to really, in full transparency, list every single thing I'm spending money on. So Town of Pomfret, 17.5% share to the volunteers. That is why I capture all that in the revenue, right? Because if it's an expenditure for me, I have to count it as revenue for me. So half of firefighters disability, or excuse me, half of the volunteer disability insurance, that's what the village pays for that. Same thing with the half of the cancer. This is 100% on the village. This is a cancer initiative that the state put out, 5-8 years ago. So that's an annual payment per firefighter that they submit to us. Station generator PM, we have a station generator that is original to the building itself. We get PM done at every quarter, I believe, to kind of keep it moving along. We really need to look at putting a new generator in there that's powered by natural fuel. The current one has a little 5-gallon diesel tank, so you can imagine if that thing's going to run for an extended amount of time, it's very difficult. And that generator only powers the front half of the building. So the 2 bays that are out back would not be operated by that generator. It's something we identified, and we can't use a grant. Before someone says it, we cannot use a grant because we would have to establish ourselves as a shelter, which we can't do because our building is non-ADA compliant, and I don't want that mess. So it's going to kind of be on us that we should plan on that in the coming years, because I don't want that thing just to die and then I'm coming to the board with an emergency replacement. Pest control, Tango is the thing. So we have a terrible, our radios, I can talk on my portable radio and talk to you in Batavia, believe it or not. But I cannot talk to you if I'm standing in the police department and you're standing outside on the sidewalk. That's just UHF versus VHF. I'm not a radio guy, don't ask me. But what we have is VHF, so it travels distance, it doesn't penetrate walls. Where UHF, which is in Erie County, they have UHF, so it'll go through anything, but it doesn't go very far. So that gives the ability for us to have a radio on our cell phones, right? What's cool about this is the volunteers pay half of this because they use that as well. So it's a really good tool for us. Annual physicals, that's a pretty good number. We usually spend around $4,300, $4,500 every year on annual physicals. That's for any operational member. So again, I went back earlier to interior versus exterior, it doesn't matter, right? You have to have an annual physical, and that's contracted through OcuStar for those services, occupational health. Alpine, this is Red Alert. This is our system of record where we do our fire reports. I briefed the board a couple months ago on the change from NIFRS to NERIS. Everything is done on that. Again, the good news is that costs us $10,400. The volunteers pay half of that because they use that platform for personnel records for their activities, their meetings, so we're very beneficial for that. NFPA subscription, pardon me, we pay half of that with codes. Codes office pays the other half. That's required, for, with standards and stuff like that. OSHA safety training, that's required by every year. We have to do OSHA training. We bring in an instructor for that. It's really nice to have someone do that for, it's 8 hours a year. So they come in on a Saturday, just did it last month. Home base, that's our scheduling app, $250 for that. Annual hose testing, that's required by NFPA. We have to get our hose tested every single year. Any hose that's failed has to be taken out of service and replaced. So that's the cost there, $3,000. Annual ground ladder testing, all of our ground ladders have to be tested every year by NFPA standards, so that's what that costs us. Annual SCBA inspections, I kind of mentioned that earlier, that our SCBA's get tested every single year. That's the cost for that. First Citizen lease, right, we have 2 printers over there. Copy scanners, printers, that's what it is for the whole year, $1,500. We pay quarterly for that. And then Hearst Tool PM, right, Hearst Tools are the things that open a car door. They cut, they spread, there's rams that spread dashes, everything like that. Hearst Tool PM is something that's important. We don't want the tool to have a problem when we're using it or when we're in need for it. We want that manufacturer rep to come in and do a full check. So that was all explained there, $137,525. That was kept alone. Any questions with anything there? I know it's a lot. All right, going to fuel, not much to talk about there. We just took what we're using, kind of averaged it. Get that there. And uniforms. So if you look at my presentation that I presented to the mayor, I asked for a uniform line to be added to the budget. I named it 3410-48. I asked for $3,000. The breakdown on that is, so the new hires, right, it's contractually agreed upon with the union that we have to give them certain things, right? So I buy that when they're first hired. I provide the part-timers with uniform items as well, right? I think that they're doing us it's really advantageous for us to use them, so I'm not gonna make them buy their own polo. I'm gonna buy it for them. And then my uniform allowance, right, which is reflected in the department head contract. Those items, right, so let's say $3,000, that currently comes out of fire equipment safety, right? So I keep talking about how that line keeps getting smaller and smaller every year. I really shouldn't be spending equipment safety money on items like this, because then I'm forced with, I need a few more polos, but we also need a new ladder. Which one's more important, right? And I just feel like that puts me in an awkward spot. So it's money that's more or less guaranteed per contracts, right? It's in the department contract, it's in the union contract, so we're gonna spend it, right? Or we have the potential to spend it, so I would like to see it as its own budget line item that'll help us track it too a little easier from my perspective. So I asked for $3,000, that was cut to $0. That's my second of 2 needs, right? My first need was the capital PPE, my second need is the uniforms. We have to spend money on the uniforms. Any questions with that? All right, last thing for fire protection is maintenance equipment. Again, I said this earlier, but this is not just fire apparatus, it's also the building as well, so that's why it's a little higher than the EMS maintenance. So oil changes for utility vehicles, we'd have to find out if that mechanic could do fire truck stuff. There's certain things on an emergency vehicle that have to be done by an emergency vehicle technician, but there's certain things that don't. So oil changes don't have to necessarily be done by an emergency vehicle technician. Things like brakes, things like that have to be done by emergency vehicle technicians, so that might differ. But windshield washer fluid, I broke it down, right? I wanted to account for it here. I wanted to account for it on the EMS maintenance.
Chief, can you do us a favor and just get to be a text?
I'm sorry?
Can you do me a favor and could just be a text when you get a chance? Just what things can be done by a local mechanic. You don't have to list what can't, but just the things that you feel can be done locally, and then we can do a cost analysis on what it might be between the two.
Good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we don't want to, something's in warranty, but
Right.
whoever, yeah, we don't want to risk.
Yeah, and that'd be easy, and that's gonna be in NFPA standard, so I'll be able to pull that verbatim and put it out of these certain things have to
And
be
again,
done
it
by-
doesn't have to be, this is what has to be done, just the things that you feel that local mechanic is able to do. That would help us.
It just goes down miscellaneous stuff. So PM, I want to explain that. PM, it stands for, again, preventative maintenance for all 3 pumpers and our ladder truck, that's required by NFPA, right? It has to get a PM annual checklist done, that this would be something that's a emergency vehicle mechanic, right? It has to be certified by them, so that's really nothing we can do about that. Pump test, same thing. The fire engines and Tower 18, they have pumps on them. They have to be tested by requirements and regulations out there, so nothing we can do about that cost. And unfortunately, these costs keep going up every year. All these places that do this for a living are having the same problems we're having, so they're increasing their prices. Preventive maintenance on M15, that's our light rescue truck, miscellaneous 15 is the name of it. That thing doesn't get driven a ton, so if you look at the budget sheet, I did PM on M15, including oil change. We just do an oil change once a year on that, and that gets done when the preventive maintenance gets done. Preventive maintenance on tanker 11, that's what the T11 is. That's our tanker that's out back, or positioned out back. Engine 14 tires, engine 15 steer tires. So we have to go, there's 2 different standards out here, right? There's Department of Transportation standard, which says 10 years. NFPA, which we follow as a fire department, says 7 years. So that's why we have to follow things at 7 years. If I don't replace a tire and it's out of date and something happens, that's a no-go, right? It's going to get me in trouble. So that's why we have a big cost on these tires. Overhead door opener replacement, 3 doors. So those garage door openers are original to the building, with the exception of 2. Not this current year, but the year before. We had 1 break, had to replace it, and I was able to provide another one. We have 7 garage doors in the firehouse, so getting 3 done this year would get those front 5 doors on new openers. Kind of goes back to my thought process with the generator, right? Well, those are the only 5 that work. We would still have 2 more to go in future years, right? But this would get us to at least the front ones. Building heat repairs, it's been an absolute disaster this year. They've been out a bunch replacing, we have a boiler that's original to the building, has not been maintained. It's not in the very distant future that I'm going to be standing here asking for a new boiler, but this is just to kind of get us by and have those replacements that we need. Any questions with that? All right. So, I'm going to do this. I know some of you are tired of hearing me say that, but if you look at the screen, right, I've updated those numbers with the cuts and bonuses. This is our operating cost. This is not count capital, but this is our operating cost, right? So our expenditures are $1,871,000, but our income is $1,151,000. So our operating cost is $720,000, right? So that's pretty impressive. I'm proud of that. We provide a level of service that I think, because I'm the chief of this place, right, is the best in the county, but we provide it for that number of $720,000 for our operational costs, right? And that's pretty remarkable. So I understand budget cuts, but we're doing pretty good for the fire department. Questions, comments, concerns? I went over my half hour, sorry.
Just a little bit. I helped you, though.
It's okay.
Chief, that number is a little different, right? At 720
Yes, because I made adjustments while we were talking.
at the top.
Yes, so
Yeah.
as we were sitting here talking, like, let's see, one of the ones I changed, it's like equipment safety. When we started, I had it at 16, because that's what I asked for. But I've changed that to 13 here as we're sitting here talking, because the appetite didn't seem here to adjust that.
Yeah.
So that would reflect that. But you see, I mean, if we change this to 16,000 or 16,000, right? It's peanuts, right? I mean, it's not peanuts, right? But when you look at the overall budget, it's very. I say this 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 more, because I know Esserson loves when I say it. But it's like, that's the number we're looking at, $723,000 in fire department. When the taxpayer looks at the budget that's online, it's unfairly presented, because they're seeing 1.874, But then, if you scroll back up to page 2, you'll see, they have an income of 1.1 million. So it's just a little weird, and that's why I will foot stomp it, and I will protect my department as I should, but I will foot stomp it to death that, fire department is, I would just like to see, it's a good number to be at for the fire department.
So, mayor's budget cut about 30,000 out of the budget? Is that what I'm thinking, or is it more than that?
I want to say it's like 20-something thousand out of operational, yes, not counting capital.
So I just in my head, around 31,000 that was cut.
Very close.
Yeah, and right, and I'm not asking for the world here. I understand capital expenditures, I understand it's tough. Thing like the vehicle exhaust system, do we need it? Yeah, we need it. But can it wait? It can wait, right? The PPE, the turnout gear, I need 2 sets. If we get one, okay, but it's just, we have a need for 2. Roof replacement, that's great. That's been a long time coming, and the cot's great. I again, thank the volunteers for putting half of that into their budget, so. My big foot stomp is with that equipment safety, right? It seems trivial that I'm up here complaining about a $3,000 cut, but I want to fairly paint the picture to the board of we're not eliminating the need, we're just shifting and we've done that for the last 3 years, and I have a fear that at some point I'm gonna be coming saying, well, now I have to spend $30,000 on equipment safety, and this is why, and I don't
We can't
want to do
operate,
that.
correct?
Right, yeah, I mean, all these things have shelf lives. They have, I have to continuously protect the department that I'm entrusted to protect.
Well, thank you. Unless there's any other questions at this point.
Just a
I
comment
got some
that
ideas, but
paramount
We're gonna
is
talk about this today.
safety.
Yes.
Paramount is safety, so that equipment safety, or however that works out throughout the operation, safety equipment, right?
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just
Yeah, no.
saying that because I believe that's where the focus priority should be.
Thank you. I agree. This is my cord. I'm taking it back.
Thank you, Josh.
Yes.
Okay, Chip, will you stop the broadcast? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Village of Fredonia. We're in the middle of talking to department heads about their potential budgets for the upcoming budget season. I'm Mayor Mike Ferguson. Just to update everybody who is in the room, we have Deputy Mayor John Esperson, Trustee Ben Brockler, Trustee Christine Cruz-Keefe, Trustee Paul Wendell, and Trustee Leanne Lazzaroni with us, as well as Leanne. Not Leanne.
What did you call
What's her
me?
name?
What did you call me?
What's her name?
Alyssa.
Alyssa LeBeau, who is with us tonight. Chip is monitoring the broadcast, and we are talking right now to code enforcement and Chuck LeBaro.
Morning.
I think my budget hasn't changed much from last year. I don't do the personnel, unless it does that because of the unions and stuff. So, but then zoning supplies, that might have went up a little bit because I need a new computer. So I got a quote, and it's like $1,500 more than what I budgeted last year, or what I got last year. So that's at $3,500. Utilities, I went up just a little bit. Tom and I both use our cell phones a lot. I've always got a stipend. When I started, we had a cell phone, and I turned it in and just used mine. So I've always had a stipend just for using my own cell phone. And this year I wanted to put Tom in there too, just because we're constantly on cell phones together. So I think it's just $100. Travels for our training and stuff. because we're certified, we have to have 24 hours every year. So that's just for our travel and our, whatever our conferences are. And also, I think zoning board comes out of that too, because zoning and planning have to have 4 hours training every year. So this year, my conference is doing something here in Dunkirk. Usually they have to go to down, I don't know where they go, Houghton, which is
Yeah.
2 hours away. This year, I'm doing something here in Dunkirk for our zoning and planning board members. So they'll get most of their training right here.
So you're hosting that?
Yeah, 3 hours of it I'll do here, so.
Let me know, because we'd like to welcome them all to the community. Let me know what
All
that
right.
is.
Yeah, because it'll be all the planning and zoning board members from around our area to save them that 2-hour trip. We're gonna do it here in Dunkirk at the fairgrounds. And it'll be in June, so should be second Tuesday in June. And Wade Tamamo, I say it wrong. He's with NICOM. He's gonna be our presenter, and he's really good. I don't know if you have heard anything that Wade's done. He's a good
Well,
presenter.
it's good, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Plus, he has an interesting voice.
He does, doesn't he? And he keeps entertaining.
He'll keep you awake.
That's what I said, I'll keep you awake. So, and then so 6,000 I've got budgeted for contractual, and a lot of that goes to, if I have to do property maintenance on properties and stuff, instead of coming to the board and getting resolutions and waiting 2 weeks. Years ago, we just decided to put money in the budget, where I'll just go out and hire a contractor and get grass cut or small stuff done, because $6,000 doesn't go very far. Plus, that's for some of our code books and stuff. This year, the code changed in '26, and it's $900 for a set of books, and I haven't gotten them yet, because we haven't been trained yet, so I kind of have been waiting. But when I do, it'll be like $900 for a set of code books. So, I have that budget in there.
Can't just get one book and photocopy the other.
We are. Well,
I'm teasing. I'm sorry.
the state gives us a digital one for the computer, but if I'm in a court case, I can't take the digital computer. I can't take the computer up to court.
Yeah.
So it's easier to have books and stuff. But yeah, we only get one set of books for the office. That's it, because they're really expensive.
So you need to have the electronic as well as the hard copy.
We will, yeah. They just sent it to me now to have Amy download it into their computers. But yeah, at least we'll have the electronic one. But we haven't even been trained yet, so. But there's a lot of changes with the energy code and stuff. So.
How have you operated in the past? Have
Pardon
you
me?
had both in the past, both electronic and hard copy?
The state, yeah. They sort of would always send us our code books every year, because I do the reports that they want.
Okay.
So the code officials that do the reports, they would get a set of the books for free. This year, they gave us this year they gave us the option, but it went to Anne Marie's computer for some reason, and I don't know why the state does this. It drives me absolutely crazy. When they have a code something, they send it to the mayor and to the town clerk or village clerk. They should be sending it to me so I can work on it. And they don't do that. And I don't know why they don't. I've complained about that for a long time. So in this case, they sent us the option to get the books or the digital one, but it went to Anne Marie, and then nobody was monitoring her emails, so we lost that. I tried to get it so I can get it for free, but they said no, you didn't respond, so we sent you a digital one instead. So we'll have to do that. Maintenance, fuel, I put in 1,000 just because the price of fuel, and then maintenance, car maintenance, because we have an old police car that is pricey to keep up. I just put $1,300 into it just for brakes and stuff. So, but I just have to have that, that money in there just in case. So I just put 1,000 in for that. And then planning, because I do planning and zoning's budget too, or planning's budget and zoning. Planning supplies is 500 or 200, And that is for, just mostly for the advertising that we have to do, the legal notices and stuff. Because we always have to put it in the paper, so that eats up a lot. And travels, again, the planning board has to travel or have their training in there just in case. And then $2,000 for contractual, and that's their salaries and stuff. That's it, mine's pretty simple. So,
And yet you generated a record amount of revenue this year.
I just saw the list, I know, we just, I think I'm almost at $100,000 this year already.
Oh, my gosh,
So,
that's great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this month you'll hear 12,000 just this month alone, and for the beginning of the year, that's fantastic, so. Because we usually, we don't do that until like July, August, July, so. I can stand up here for another hour if you want, but that's all I,
Nice talking to you, Chuck.
that's all I got.
No, you did a great job.
I'm
and
pretty simple.
We're incredibly proud of what you guys do, and, that's this, every time when you come in and do a report, it's showing the people who say there's nothing going on here, that there are things going on here, and that there are young families here. I had a discussion yesterday with somebody who said, well, Fredonia's nothing but old people. Well, we got over 500 people at Trunk or Treat this of young children, and those kids were born somewhere. And we had just under, I think, was it 378 for the summer program, all Fredonia residents. So somebody's giving birth to a lot of kids, and they're all in this area. So my point being, young families are here, our seniors are here, and what you do just helps grow this community. So we appreciate it.
Crosby's is going, they're already, they're at the building half torn down, so they're going. They want to be,
Which one's that?
Crosby's.
Yeah,
They want to be open by August, so they're like flying now. It's amazing how fast they're going.
That's great.
Yesterday
Yeah,
afternoon.
it is. And Elvira's supposed to start, and that's gonna be over on Water Street across from Fred's.
she's already started, yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, Elvira's.
Used to be the
Oh,
dry
yeah.
cleaners, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a drive-through where she prepares meals, healthier meals.
Oh, that's cool.
Great,
Yeah.
She's gonna have an outdoor seating area where the parking lot is right now, so.
nice.
Nice.
So.
She's got that through the New York Main Street program, yeah.
I got St. George subdivisions going. I've got a house on my desk right now to finish up St. George's over on Skyandro.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's a new house going in there, and then, want to finish out that subdivision. So we're busy.
Chuck, was it 5 or 6 houses in the last year and a half we've taken down that were vacant, or I know we had to take one down for remediation of the creek, but I think we had up to 5 that we took
Yeah,
down,
4 or 5, yeah.
former houses that have been sitting for a long time in an eyesore, and so they're very, very busy people.
Yep.
About the hospital, where are we at?
Hospital is going back to the planning board just to tweak a couple of things this week, next week. And they are starting to clear, and they're just waiting for their monies, so they want to start footers, I think in May.
Yeah,
Nice.
So they're just kind of waiting for one more part to be done, and
they've already started, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
they're, May, I think May you'll see it go really fast. I think they really want to just keep going after that. But they're
Nice.
doing their site work right now. They're all fenced off and stuff, so.
But in regards to your office, everything's been,
Oh, yeah, we're done. We're just waiting for the construction, because we'll do all the construction meetings with them and stuff. When we go, Tom will pretty much be there, so we'll probably have to talk about that down the road, because Tom's pretty much gonna be on site once they really start flying. And then I'll just do their construction meetings, so that I can organize, what's going on and stuff. So other than that, yeah, it'll be a busy time for us for the next 3 years.
Excellent,
So we're busy.
Yeah.
which means water, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you for what you do.
Have a good holiday.
Chuck,
You
can you
too.
close
You
that
too.
for us one more time, please?
Yep, absolutely.
You guys turn off your mics for 1 second.
Sure.
I never turned mine back on.
So that you are.
Hi.
Hold on.
Couple seconds.
oh, turn it on. Oh, you're off?
So you're
Now
going
I'm
in
off,
executive
but I was
session?
off.
You're going in executive session?
No, we're just having 2 minutes.
Hold on, give me a minute.
Hospital is currently, again, this is an executive session, but the hospital is
I'll be on that meeting.
Yeah, me too.
Treatment plant.
Anybody can get in, I can send you
Yeah.
the link, but.
Yeah, just to talk about his PER that's so finished.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Village Hall, 911 Church Street in Fredonia. I'm Mayor Mike Ferguson. Today we are going through budget meetings with individual department heads. And right now, we're bringing in Chip from Cable Access. The attendees today is Deputy Mayor John Esperson, Trustee Ben Brockler, Trustee Christine Cruz-Keefe, Trustee Paul Wendell, Trustee Leanne Lazzaroni, and our Director of Finance, Erlissa LeBeau, who is with us for all these meetings, formerly referred to as what's her name in the last meeting. And I'm Mike Ferguson. Good afternoon, Chip.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry to be a little bit unprepared. I apologize, because basically my budget stays the same. I believe it's 15,000 for supplies and then my payment. That's the only thing that's in there, really. So if there's, I don't see any change. We have an ongoing grant, and we're still looking for more grant money to supply the station with more for newer equipment and replacements. So we're trying to budget that side of it. So we've really been successful with that. So we're looking at another new grant to replace the cameras here. They're getting older. They were bought in 2020. So we're looking to get a grant to replace these. So we're always looking for money in that side of it. But I am requesting a 3% increase in my pay. I'll hand that out. Excuse me. It comes out to about $133 and some change increase
For the year?
for the whole year.
Okay.
So I'm not asking for a lot of money, just a 3% increase. I haven't had an increase since 2020 or 21. No, excuse me. I don't know when it was. It's been a long time. So it's been going to, we're doing every Monday now, and then all the other shows, and trying to look for some other stuff. Working with a guide to try to get some publicity done, underwriting for some of the shows and stuff like that. Found a guy who might be interested in helping out with that and going out to and underwrite some shows and bring some income in a little bit, maybe not a lot, you know. But
We need a contract for that, for us to see the contract on that, so we know what percentage
yeah,
is
we'll
getting, et
work it
cetera.
all up. I'm gonna work with the cable board members.
And then to help you with regards to programming, if you could give us a list of the programs, but you and I have talked, you know, we're
Yeah.
trying to increase programming on there. We'd like to see some programming, we'd like to do something
it's not a
where we
huge
can get
difference.
Yeah.
important things on there. But we'd also like to talk to, and maybe this person can help us with this, revenue generation for those programming, almost, and I realize there's rules and regulations to it, but very similar to what's going on with educational TV.
Yeah.
You know,
Familiar with
I think there's local people that would support those programs.
Yeah.
And you want to encourage people to, and I know that cable changes channels and all these other things. You know, I still hear to this day, and I've been here 39 years, you know, what channel, how do I find the channel that it's on?
Yeah, we're hid behind 1301
Right.
in the cable system. We tried many years ago to get channel 5, and at the time we were looking at it, we're kind of a little background in the system. We're fully digitalized right now in the station, so that means basically that we have no tape. Everything's done by data. We have a hard drive that contains all our video production and stuff like that. I've shown some of you at the station how we do some things. We take that digital video and convert it to an analog video, and we send it to the tower at Spectrum, and then they convert it back over to digital. It sounds horrible. It makes the picture look horrible on the cable system. We had projections of $6,000 for a unit that would convert it to digital, and then additional $3,000 per year that we would have to pay for to keep that service up, and it's just outrageous. I've talked to a couple service techs, and they have said
On the floor.
Behind.
they've said it's why we could do it a lot different, but the point is they wanted, the Spectrum wanted a huge amount of money to change us to digital on their system. And they mentioned if we did that and we paid that, we could actually go back to channel 5. But because, let's face it, $6,000 for a unit, and then on top of monthly fees and cost, is huge. We don't.
One thing I think we have to keep in mind as a board, I was approached by a local organization that said, hey, we'd like to remind you that we have money for community events here. You know, you guys don't tap on our door that often. And so I think if that could help somebody like, you know, like this programming, we really need to take a look at that and what they have to offer. I think the particular organization I'm talking about, I don't think people realize the outreach that they have and the things that they would be willing to support. So we'll talk about that another time. But again, you know my feeling. You know,
Yeah, the station's an untapped resource.
Yeah.
We don't just do it just for the trustee meetings or whatever. We do a lot of other things, the basketball games, football games. Just to give you a little background, this year was the first year we kind of geared up because last 2 years we were dead in the water. We had no station, we had nothing. So it's kind of hard to do much of anything with just basic stuff. So we're trying to gear up on that. So getting that people involved, the high school kids and other people involved, you know, takes a little while. People are busy, they lose. When you stop using them, they kind of go to do something else. So it's kind of hard to pull people. So this year was a good year. We had a real good year pulling people and getting some new members in the volunteer side and try to get some help on that side of it. I'm a one-man show, and it's hard to do a one-man show. We did one game for the high school for the basketball this year, and that was difficult because I was on a one-man thing. So I had people helping, but everybody was new to the whole situation. So really kind of me throwing you into something and you're like, I have no idea. So I'm kind of doing double work, showing you, training you, at the same time setting up. So we had a little bit of difficulties in trying to get that whole thing going. But I think if we got a crew and people, we can use those services. I have been approached by a couple other people regarding some shows, and I've said, I don't have a problem with it. I'll show you how the equipment works, get you in, but you're gonna have to kind of do a little bit on your own because I have a full-time job, of course, and other stuff, so it's kind of hard for me to designate to sit here day after day on that side of it. But other than that,
You just favor too, when you're doing your programming schedule, if you email it to me so I can get it up on social media. Any
that's
artwork you have, anything like that. I know that you're simulcasting the podcast with the Opera House now.
yeah.
So, you know, we have social media for the village. I'll be happy to help out from that.
All right, yeah, I can get you some information on that, send you a text. We pretty well do standard programming, and we have set times, like the trustee meetings are aired on the access station on the cable side every day from at 2 and 7 o'clock. So we rebroadcast those, whatever is going on. Budget-wise, we kind of tail off of that end of it and put the budget meetings at the end. Or we'll take like this week, once we get done, we'll just put a whole segment of all week of budget meetings. So it gets involved, so, but we do a lot of back side of it, so. Other than that,
Because we got people watching, hopefully. What is the YouTube address so they can watch the meetings and things?
just Fredonia Access 5 at youtube.com. Just go to YouTube and type in Fredonia Access and you'll go.
Comes right up.
Gonna
All you
say-
have to do is type in Village of Fredonia.
Yeah,
And
and it'll come up. We've got such a, the YouTube sites has exploded in the last year or so.
Yeah.
On members, subscribers. We had only like 500 subscribers, and I think we're up to 1,200. So we've increased those subscriber levels, and which is good. So that gives us a base value of how many people are watching that are going to get notified of a meeting or a game or whatever we're doing. So we get a lot of people on that, and then during the day, most times our rate for watching is 200 to 300 people on a show, depending on if it's a trustee show or a basketball. We had 1,400 on the basketball game that we did. So that was a Dunkirk-Fredonia game, so a lot of it was both. Fortunately, Fredonia lost, but Dunkirk won, so more people probably Dunkirk watched it.
It's
But,
okay, we won the football game this year.
Yeah, so it's we do a lot, and I appreciate all the assistance with the equipment and stuff like that. You're probably gonna get a little purchase order coming around the corner here for some minor stuff, some basic things. We're looking at getting caps for some of our cameras for outside applications, because we're gonna be using them outside, and rain doesn't work real good with electronics. So, just some basic things, tight ends to finish it and stuff. But the grant that we have, we've really held that grant long. That was a cable grant that we got, and we really haven't spent a lot of money on that, because, to be honest with you, a lot of the equipment we have is pretty up to date. We have some pieces that are deteriorating, that we're trying to get grants to, like this system here, get grants to purchase those pieces to get them up and running, so that we're not gonna not be difficult. Question?
No, I was just gonna say thank you for what you do for us.
I try to get the,
Keep the camera off me from now on. No.
well, you know, I will tell you, they have a camera that will make you all look great and everything, but I don't think you wanna spend the extra money.
Chip, I have a question.
Yeah.
The percentage-wise, community access via Spectrum versus YouTube, what would you say?
Subscriber-wise, I don't know what we have in subscribers for the cable, for the, on the access side. I don't know what we get in revenue for the cable franchise. It's probably based on that side of it. Do they ever send a report on how many subscribers anymore?
I'd say you're probably looking at more YouTubers right now.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, you don't,
Just because you can watch it over and over again.
Yeah.
You can't pull it up on cable
No.
like you can pull it up on YouTube.
Yeah,
So if there's somebody's working, they can't watch it, they're gonna watch it the next morning.
Right.
we get a lot of people have asked, I've had a lot of people tell me, and they're like, well, I watch it on, I always get a text from the fire department, because they watch it on cable, for some reason. So I always get a text on them and go, hey, I can't hear John. And I'm going, well, John's 15 feet away from the microphone, I can't help that. So, John, you need
He
to get
does that on
closer.
purpose, by the way.
So,
I'll try that next time.
so we get a lot of people that
Perhaps
text
we need
me.
microphones right here.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
you can walk off with it.
Maybe?
But we get a lot of people that text me and say, hey, is this on? Is it gonna be on the cable side? Because my grandmother wants to watch me in the parade. So we always offer, everything we do, we offer it on cable all the time. We don't not do that. So we do produce a lot of shows back into that, and we do produce a lot of shows that are YouTube related, and then we air them again on the access, on the cable side. So, other than that, that's all I have. The only thing I'm looking at purchasing for this year, which I got told that for an air conditioner is not an issue, because it's considered building. So,
I also think we got some laying around, so.
so we're gonna have, definitely gonna need a new air conditioner this year. I kinda went to one last year, and you had to shut it off during the performance because it made so much noise, it sounded like it was gonna explode. So,
Some meetings I wanted to make a lot of noise.
other than that, any questions? I mean, I'm always, my door's always open, my phone's always on. You guys want any call? Give me a call and I can show you whatever, so always open door.
Thanks, Chief.
Chip.
Thank you so much.
I think the kids left.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. That ends the budget discussion right now, correct?
Yes.
Well, we still need to go through the administrative budget. We haven't done that yet.
Okay, and we'll just continue with
Yeah.
what we're doing right now. So Chip, you can leave it on the air for this.
So that would be page 106.
1 of 6.
Okay.
So can I just ask you what are trustee supplies?
So typically, it's the observer notices that go in the paper for meetings.
Okay.
So there was 2,000 in travel for trustees. Is that for NICOM conferences or?
Yes, because it was requested that there's some money go back in there. I didn't know how much you wanted to put in there, but
Okay, because what does it normally cost to go? Maybe a total of $700?
something like
That's,
that.
yeah.
Total for the conference, for the hotel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Do you know if they ever do them in the summer?
They do. There's
Okay.
there's
Just 'cause that is
they're quarterly,
Okay.
so,
I think they do at Houghton, I think they offer some
no, they've
things.
kind of gone the bigger hotels now and that type of
Oh.
thing, but, yeah,
Because
it's,
the last few I've gotten notices for in my email, even if I had the money.
you're doing school,
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a
Well,
toughie.
So there's the winter one in,
There's winter,
March.
fall,
there's a fall one in October.
but I think there's as Leanne's saying, I think there's a smaller one during the summer
I think there is.
that is somewhere between maybe Rochester area. We can get you a schedule.
I think there used to be, I don't know if. I
As
think-
elected official, and we're members in ICON, you should be able to get all the emails too. You just sign up for the emails.
Yeah, I get 'em all the
You'll get
time.
the
Yeah,
emails.
we pay for that.
Yeah, we pay for that. Yeah.
All right.
so we don't have a training line now.
No, our training is
Travel.
usually
Life.
free.
So should we
Well,
name it travel/training?
Not necessarily, though, because if
Not
you go...
NICOM, obviously, it's not free.
Right. If, for example, if there's a module that, on Nikon website that you wanted, there's always a $40 or $50 charge for that.
Well,
I would propose to put more money in there if we can get the budget where we want it to be.
That makes sense.
Right? Like, I think it's important that everybody has training, and we should go to the training that we want to go to that would help us in our position, right? That's
Right.
important.
Sure.
Can we see where everything else falls out, and then see if we can put more money in there per trustee for training?
Yeah, I agree.
well, I think, if we know about what a conference costs, I think if we budget one
Free.
for every trustee to go to, you don't need to go to both of them or all of them, but at least one a year.
Yeah,
The thing is, they usually have their agendas in advance, who's speaking, what's going on. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm picking this one, because there's a lot of what we're currently working on, that those connections are. And I also want to go back and find the guy that John talked to about the crosswalk lights. So, it's another one.
I wouldn't mind paying for some of the cost. I'm just not going to dish out $1,000 to go to a training, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
My travel, hotel, whatever. I'm just not going to do that.
No, and I think if Village paid for the cost of the conference and then we paid for the hotel, I think that's a fair trade-off.
As long as it's a state rate. Do we get the state rate?
No.
We don't?
We get the rate that the
conference rate.
hotel
Nikon.
charges
Yeah.
at the,
Yeah, the
wherever
conference
they're doing
rate.
the conference.
I-
You could choose to stay somewhere else.
Right, no, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
as a state employee, we got the
Yeah.
state rate, and it was like half as what it would cost to somebody else to book the hotel. That's why I was asking.
Well, I like your idea. Let's go back to that once we figured everything out.
Because I think that's an important line to put back in,
Oh,
Yeah.
or
I
put
think
more
it's
money in.
extremely important, and it's been neglected.
Well, how do you run anything if you haven't had the training to do it, right? Like,
Touche.
that's like, you wouldn't throw me into the fire department to run the fire department or the police department or any other department not knowing anything about it, right?
We don't just give you a bucket of water and a hose and say, okay.
No, thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else under the trustees right now?
Big circle.
Okay, because the next one, under Village Justice, we have expenses of $75,208. Our revenue this year was $45,000.
Well,
Now, keep in mind that we're also going to lose some revenue because sometime in this next budget, this budget coming up, we are going to lose the town of Pomfret court in this building. They're going to be moving over to their new headquarters. So that's how much per year?
I took off half of that.
You did,
I
okay.
already took it out, yeah.
All right, so she already took that out.
so, just, is that what our revenue usually is? I mean, is this particularly low? Is it?
So it's much lower than 5 years ago, but
Right.
it's been consistent pretty much the last couple of years.
So it's a losing proposition here,
I think
monetarily.
we are going to start seeing more parking and vehicle fines than we've seen in the past few years. I think that's coming up. That's been discussed with the chief, and we're going to be making more, as part of it has been the short staff. Part of it has been nobody uses the parking meters. So, and then someone to go out and enforce the parking laws. At one point, we were over $100,000 in revenue in that department, and we are nowhere near that right
Well,
now.
I remember a day when the court calendar, the village court calendar was so long. There was 150 people on the court calendar, and those were court costs that were paid to the village because of SUNY Fredonia and the kids and,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yep.
you didn't go out downtown Fredonia without getting a ticket, right? That was just the way it was.
Yeah, well, they used to have one of the judges back then was also, he also would put on a police uniform and go out and tag all the cars and do a lot of that himself. And that person has since passed away, but he had a dual role.
Well, I just, and I don't want to be the naysayer here, but we can have a police department without having a court, right? We don't have to have a village court. Everything can go to the town.
Problem that we have there, and we'd have to discuss that, and I don't know the legalities, so I'm not going to speak on it, but both judges are elected officials.
Yes, but we are not required by law to have a court,
I understand
right?
that, yeah.
So even though, and I don't want anyone to, get rid of their jobs or whatever, but if it's financially not worth us having a court and pay
Yeah.
a judge and court staff and all that stuff.
Well, let's keep in mind that part of the consolidation merge study that the county's helping to fund is taking a look
Yes.
at combining them.
Except that if you combine them, we're still fiscally responsible for half of the cost for that. If our police costs, what we make in revenue isn't, and what we're making off the court isn't
Equal to 50%.
even equal to what we're spending, why are we spending it?
Well, it's a cost we would just transfer to the town then.
But we would, right, but we would be responsible for our portion of that cost as part of the
No, I mean,
village.
if we eliminated the judge's job,
Oh, yeah, then
we're-
it would just go to the town,
It would go
yeah.
to the town, which we would see their tax increase because
Well, I know what you're
Oh.
saying.
they're going up, so.
Except that they would have more revenue,
Like every other
right? They would, they would make all the revenue,
So it's over.
right?
I think for me, before we made that decision, I'd like to see what happens when we get rid of the meters.
Yeah.
And because if all the police cars have either computer or they have it on their phone, they can monitor, it's really easy to monitor who's parking illegally. And so they don't have to get out, they just go right to that and they can just start writing tickets.
20 years ago, we used to have a part-time cop who would walk up and down Water Street at night.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a week that went by where we didn't have at least 6 or 7 kids who walked out of a bar with the beer in their hand, saw the cop, poured out the beer, dropped the cup, and got open container, violation of sewer ordinance, and littering, $450. We were getting
Exactly.
6 or 7 of those every week.
20 years ago is also 18 years of age drinking, so you had a lot more
Oh, it
kids
was
doing
more
it.
than that.
That's a lot longer than 20 years
No.
ago.
Yeah, but you know what?
20 years ago, we're talking the early 2000s.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, and I used to teach at SUNY, and I'd warn the kids, this is what's going to happen, just drink your beer and take the fine, but
I used to say I was going to write the coffee table book for dummies and how to drink downtown Fredonia without getting arrested.
Yeah.
Because it truly, somebody got arrested in your group.
But I
at
don't
the time.
think the kids are doing as much of that anymore.
No, they're not.
And
But that
we
was
don't
a-
have the part-time cop walking the beat.
Trust me, there's a lot more going on Friday and Saturday night than what we're aware of right now. So,
Yeah.
Yes,
But
except that they're not.
It's not a nice, easy revenue generator like
But
that
I think,
was.
I agree with John that one thing that we need to see is, I think we're going to see significant increase in revenue when it goes to honk because it's enforceable, number one. It's immediate pay, number two. I've had 3 reports in the last 4 weeks that, just as I suspected, employees of certain companies are taking up all the parking spaces and staying there all day because nobody's watching the meters. And that person went in, someone who's trying to work on one of the buildings downtown, knew who those cars were and went in to tell the people they had to move their cars and were basically laughed at and told to leave. So I'm guessing right now, like in particular this time in the morning, 80% of the people parked in front of on Main Street are employees. And yet we have empty spots in the back lot. That's what the back lot is for the people who live on Main Street and the people that work on Main Street. Those back lots are for them to park their cars behind their businesses.
I don't know, last week I went to dinner at Domus Fair and I tried to put a quarter in the meter.
Doesn't work.
And you can't because it's jammed.
Yeah, with 2 other quarters that somebody tried to jam in.
Yeah.
No, I get it. So I agree that I think that once we have to, I think it's something you have to look at in the long range, but there's too many elements right now that could change that fairly quickly,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
But you're right.
But I think this
Discuss
is
that.
something for us
saying,
to
like-
think about and maybe to look into over the next year as far as.
But I think we'll have a much
rules and-
better idea of what it looks like next budget year.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I do think we should at least look into whether we can and how we would go about disbanding our court
Sure.
if it comes to that.
Okay, moving on.
Yep.
If we're ready. Mayor. Looks like about the same as it was last year.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've done a pretty good job with my budget. I'm gonna do something myself.
Amazing.
I would like to
We're gonna
request
cut
a
his
3%
pay, you know,
raise,
I
for
think he
this
makes
year.
too much. you know.
Well, they can't do that without a local law.
I know.
As we found out last year.
No, it looks good.
So,
So just utilities is the only increase,
yeah,
right?
And there's no way around that.
Utilities, as you see, there's a transfer there because the utilities went up considerably. So,
Yeah.
so
And it's-
utilities is what?
Telephone, there's a portion of the electric bill.
Okay.
heat, right? I mean, our heat this year, well, you know, you walk to my office, you can basically, I think I've lost 10 pounds just in sitting in my office. It's been hard to control. We have 2 controls in the building, and we've had to call Cajunos come in and turn off the heat and turn on the heat. And I think we replaced our 3rd broiler in the last few years this year, and now we are replacing a master switch unit, which wasn't in the original budget. So the building's old, like everything else, and I just had a Buffalo company. We had to go to Buffalo to find a company that could look at the roof because the local companies just don't have the capabilities of getting up that high on the roofs. And we're waiting on a quote for that. So,
Jumping ahead to personnel, Alyssa, why is the year-to-date contractual? So are there bills we're waiting to come in?
For mine?
Yeah.
Yes, so the auditor's bills are not in there yet, which would take like $20-some thousand.
Okay.
Okay, so that's
Has
going to be the big
audit
chunk.
been done yet?
No,
Okay, so if the audit's not done, we can't file reports with the state, and then we get notices from the state that we haven't filed a report.
Didn't we get a report in our email?
so you got something that shows that we didn't file our report. Because I get to the point where I have to submit the auditor's report, and that's as far as I can go.
But didn't we learn last year, when the state controller's office was here, that if we submit the reports that we do have, we can submit the auditor's report at a later date?
Yes, it still won't let me do anything on the actual comptroller's website until,
Right, until we do get that auditor's
yeah,
report.
because
so-
they don't close it out and open the next one
Yeah.
until I have that.
And so this is unfortunately, this is a recurring theme with the current auditors that we have. They're always, in the recent past, they've always been late. So they're only on a 1-year contract, so I'm going to suggest when the time comes that we look for an auditor that can get it done on time.
Absolutely. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The other
Because it
thing is,
just-
we are meeting with the state comptroller's office, or Alyssa and I are on Monday.
Yeah.
If you would like to meet with them, they request that you set up a meeting with them, either like one or two at a time, or separately. But the only meeting they're coming to Monday is for Alyssa and I, to drop off the report that they did half a year ago.
All right.
But you'll all get a copy of that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are we going to get?
Yeah.
We should.
Yeah.
Based on reports in the press, it seems that auditors taking their sweet time is pretty common.
It's crazy.
Well, sweet
Didn't we
time
just get
and
something in
being
our email?
overloaded. You don't have a lot of reliable auditors in the community, so everybody goes to the best ones and they get bogged down.
I believe the city of Dunkirk uses the same auditors that we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah, so
also
does
having the same
Jamestown
issue.
and-
Jamestown
Yeah.
does too.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kids, get your degree in finance and
Become an auditor, kids.
One thing I do have before we move on with regards to treasurer, because that's kind of a lot of that. I've never worked in a facility where we have 7 different, I don't know if they're contracts or agreements on different printers. Nothing around here works together, very rarely. There's one color printer, that's Alyssa's. I'm constantly bugging her. We have a couple of one on desktop. The type of letterhead that we use screws up all the printers except for hers. It's just, how many printers did we figure out we have, and none of them are under the same contract? I forget, and then that's
So-
between department-wide. Again, could we have saved bulk buying? Could we have gone through one contract? I used to go through a group in Jamestown, and they took care of everything. Now, I also didn't have 7 departments in 7 different parts of the community, but it just, there's a great inconsistency, is communication. This is 2026. Communication in between the departments should be, we do our best with Gmail and all the other things, but it's just, as far as I'm concerned, we're way behind in
So
technology.
who's in charge of all those contracts?
I took over the one for here, but all of the other locations have them.
They
Our
do them all
contract's
separately.
not up, so we can't
Yeah.
do anything with that currently.
when's it up for us?
I think it has 2 more years.
So, it's just an observation. Again,
Ideally, we'd have one contract with one source and
right.
How about is the DPW have a different
centrally
contract? or-
manage and not
Fire
allow
DPW.
departments to go
I
off
think
on their
fire's the
own.
only one with a separate contract.
Let's put it, can't we put everybody
We
under
tried
this?
to combine it all to begin with. They went at a different time than us.
Yeah, department heads have to realize,
So
that's the
when
dog
is-
that wags the tail.
When
The tail
is
does not
their
wag the dog.
contract up?
The fire? I'd have to look that up. I just looked up ours to see when we could do something.
If we have to violate the contract and pay whatever we need to pay to get us on the same schedule, then probably in the long run,
We
we're
should-
saving money.
Absolutely should all be on the same contract with the same company for the same printers at every location.
I also understand you don't want color copiers in every single
No.
department, because all of a sudden, people will abuse that. Alyssa's got so much on her plate right now. The ability to, because we talked about it, she and I talked about it last year, centralize the ordering, figure out how much paper everybody's used, average it, ship it to here or someplace and let them come pick it up. Their office supplies, all of those things. It's easier said than done.
Sure.
Okay, I don't know how, she has her lunch while she's working. She has to, she gets here at 7:30 in the morning because and I'm not making excuses for you, Alyssa, you can tell me to shut up, but the problem is her personal life is intertwined with this. She has kids in high school, playing high school sports, these types of things, and taking work home at 10:30 at night. So some of these things, I just think the more we can streamline, the more we can make it efficient from a financial standpoint as well. Okay, you're our office supply person. What's the best thing you can do? We need this. This is what we need. We do it with fuel. We do it with those types of things. It's going to save the board in the long run, and it's going to take some of that stuff off our shoulders. Go ahead.
I don't know if this is possible, it might be a dumb idea, but our school print shop does outside work.
Yes, we actually use them.
Agree?
Yes,
So-
we do.
And they do excellent work.
They really do.
So I'm just saying that when you're looking at big print jobs, and I know you're not talking about all the big print
Yeah,
jobs,
right,
but
right.
that is a resource.
Okay, good idea.
Yes.
Good idea. Okay, I didn't mean to get off topic. Go ahead. I do it frequently.
No, you don't.
But all for the love of the job. That's what it is.
So where are we?
Village clerk.
So, village clerk,
That's going to come down considerably, right? Because she's part-time now?
That did, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the major change.
so legal, 90,000,
I don't think
How
legal's ever
much
going
of
to go down.
the,
80.
how much of the billing have they submitted based on all the contractual meetings that she attended?
For our negotiating?
Yeah.
So what's in here is what I had. Obviously, I'll be getting another bill here soon, but
Yeah.
that 319 number was what was in there, so 8,900 for
Yeah,
negotiation.
that seems like
That's not really that horrible.
thought.
I mean, honestly,
I'm shocked, I thought.
I know.
while I was kind of against having the attorney here all the time, I guess because when it was local attorney, they were here all the time. But based on what's been happening, I'd like her here a little bit more, at least maybe one meeting a month.
Yeah.
And this has been a complete reversal for me, because I think some of the things that are being said in these meetings are wrong from a legal standpoint, but the public doesn't know that. People come in here that don't know anything about the law. They speak half-truths in many cases, not all the time, but in many cases. And by having an attorney here, when we need that attorney there, particularly when it comes to village work and village law, or what we're doing with projects, I think is important, at least once. And we know that it's going to be a contentious night to have that person here to offset those wrong facts.
Have we received the bill for the hearing yet?
So I just received a bill from that attorney, and it was only through 2/28, so
We didn't include the actual hearing.
Correct.
Okay.
We haven't heard anything else, like, from the timeline of the decision at this point, other than what you and I heard.
He said a couple weeks.
Yeah, so we should be
Couple
getting
weeks to
close.
a month, so Monday will be 2 weeks.
Wasn't there a fee with Lippis comparable to what we're paying?
It was about the same.
Yeah, it depends on what we're doing.
It depends on what they're
The
doing.
day-to-day stuff that, the in-house stuff, they will put onto their, it's in the contract. The people that,
It'd be a junior.
the top guys who go to
Yeah.
court are the ones that are going to get paid, the ones who.
Sure.
Yeah, who are doing the work, the paperwork, that type of thing. So it actually came in at lower on the contract. But of course, when you got the lawyers showing up to fight the fight, that's where you're going to get paid more. So.
We feel comfortable reducing that line by 10,000, knowing what we got coming up the next fiscal year.
well, the attorney fees for the water project are all in the water fund.
Right.
So they're not hitting, that's why this doesn't look so bad, because it's
I was
all,
going to say,
It's all in the water.
There's a bunch of things out there. We're still sitting on the Loader case because we're not settling. We still have the case in Dunkirk on the overage on the, the fence and the wastewater treatment plant that's out there. There's a lawsuit with regards to the parking lot, which may go on for a couple of years. I don't know where that sits.
Yeah, we're not paying our attorneys.
that's all insurance.
Right.
company.
But I mean,
Do that.
Engineering, that's,
Recreation, anybody want to speak to that? those lines? Parks and recreation?
Hers pretty much stays the same, other than the rates for the employees, which changed with the minimum wage.
Well, I guess, so I have a question. It's been mentioned in the past that maybe we can merge all the summer programs in one location. Would that impact the number of employees we need? Or is that based on number of attendees?
That's based on the number of
Attendees.
kids.
So you have to have so many per child, okay, all right.
But from a programming standpoint, you ripped off the Band-Aid, so might as well bring it out there. I've talked to several people. In fact, I talked to someone yesterday who said when they were living in Erie County, they were paying $200 a year for the summer program. We almost got our house room down for charging $20 last year. You can't get 2 hours of daycare for $20. And there are many times that some of these kids are sitting in that park an hour and a half after the program ended because somebody didn't get out of work yet. It's a fantastic program. The people who work it are amazing. I have no problem with that. But we have to look at the land that we own. Confidentially, there's been a couple of people that have requested parcels that are currently playgrounds, but very underutilized playgrounds that the village could sell, and they want to develop housing on it, which increases taxes. And the first thing the public says is you're taking away our, no, we're not. No park in this village or the town is that busy that it doesn't, gee, we need a bigger park, we need this. We need newer equipment, there's no doubt. We need updating. We've already had a light standard fall in the tennis courts. Good thing is there's plenty of daylight hours there, so, it'd be nice to play on it. But the idea is there is nothing wrong with a $20 wage for the entire summer.
That's crazy.
Per person. And there is nothing wrong with the idea of consolidating. I've taught pickleball during the summer. Ed Kirschmeyer taught pickleball during the summer. If you were to take 2 parks, 3 parks, and say those are the parks to put the programming in, you could then create more age-appropriate division between the people, between the kids. The beauty of Russell Joy is you have the upper part, you have the side part, and you have the lower part. That provides shelter, that provides restrooms, but also provides the fact, right now, anybody who signs up for pickleball, I've got a 4-year-old who just wants to stare at the birds, and I got a 16-year-old that wants to play, and the only person they have is a couple 5-year-olds. By being able to say, okay, we have enough kids that we're going to do this lesson for 6 and under, this lesson is 8 and over, and this lesson is teens, I think it's our, not only that from a fiduciary standpoint, because we're buying stuff, if we're doing a certain day, we're buying candy or everything for everybody around, and we do have some donations that cover some of that. But to be able to do everything in 1 or 2 parks would really make it a big difference.
I think I would like to see the recreation director and the 2 liaisons kind of give us a plan.
Yeah.
Of what they think would be the best.
Do they
way to move
ever
forward.
bus those kids anywhere?
No.
Can't.
No.
Well, no, they do go to school for swimming, they do go to, but
They
we
have
don't
their
bus
own
them.
transportation.
Yeah, but they
I'm just wondering, because
We can't transport them.
you might want to, Casadega Beach, we allow, they still allow this, they allow Sinclairville Rec Program to come to the beach for the day. Like if they pick a Wednesday, they have a Wednesday is Sinclairville Beach Day. So they all get dropped off at Casadega Beach to spend the day at the beach with their rec people, right? It's not the employees of the beach to take care of them, their rec people show up there. I don't know if that's something that you might want to think about or talk to your rec people about, because
It would be getting them there. that would be
yeah,
an issue.
they'd have to drop them off, but I'm just saying that's something that you might want to think about sharing. As far as shared services, there's not many kids that go to that beach anymore.
Well, and frankly, with all the possible recreational programs, I don't know if I want kids going swimming, whether they're being looked at or not. Kids rounds, and all of a sudden, that's going to be,
If their parents drop them off there, that's
I know.
just a free day at the beach. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You could leave it open.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Just lifeguards.
So basically, it's the same budget that it was last year.
I don't know why people are so opposed to paying more than $20 for all-day childcare. I just don't,
I mean,
as a
and
parent,
it's $20 for the whole program.
for the whole program.
Yeah.
I would have loved that.
Now, we also, because it's being broadcast, we also want to thank John Gullo and a number of people who went
Is
out.
this being broadcast?
And
Yes.
Oh.
got monies donated.
Yes.
And it paid for the entire program. I don't expect people to do that. And we are not doing anything that other communities don't do for a lot more money.
The
And that
program in
is-
Dunkirk's about $200, so.
Yeah.
How does that work out with our wage for our employees versus the money we take in? It's a losing
It's
prospect,
costing
right?
money.
It's not cost effective.
Money. Yeah,
Correct.
it's not paying the,
We're not paying their salaries. This
yeah.
is just offsetting a tiny portion
yeah.
of
Just
the
what I
cost.
wondered, yeah.
Right.
I mean, they're getting a bargain for $20, and
Yeah.
I know that a lot was donated, so that was great, but
Well, and it goes back to any type of programming. You know, people got upset that we didn't have the music series last year. Well, okay, but if you go to the music series in Dunkirk, there's 15 sponsors or 10 sponsors. You go to the music series in Casadega, which is a very small little spot, they have 5 sponsors. You know, that pays for itself in the long run, and that's what we have to start looking at. Many of the things that we have done in the past for free, we just can't do for free anymore. So it's not been looking to be mean and taking services away.
I think
It's
our
to do the responsible
fee
thing.
comes to somewhere around $7,000, and our budget, as you can see, is about $50,000, so it's a bargain.
no, I guess, and I guess you can look at it. It's what our tax dollars go for, right? Like, we pay for that, right?
That's it.
Okay, the library, the same amount.
Yeah.
I know you were talking, Mike, that the library needed some things, but
Roof, yeah. Everybody needs a roof.
no.
You know, they only last so long.
Are you suggesting that things don't last forever?
Shocking thing, isn't it?
I just want to be clear.
Well,
It's
Paul,
an amazing,
it can last a lot longer when you do preventive maintenance on a regular basis.
Yeah.
They do.
See
Yes.
water treatment system.
Yes.
Okay.
So do we want to take the time now to go through all departments and look at
Changes.
the requests from the department heads, or do you want to meet again and do that? Different time?
It's like 11:38.
I would feel better doing it at a different time.
Me too.
I'm
I
a
think I'd
little
be fresher.
overloaded now with numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to get it over with. Honestly, I'd love to get the budget over with. I don't
I want to
like,
be able to put the.
but I'd like to
we're
think a
not
little better about it before.
Do it.
Okay, Chip, we're going to wrap up this end of it, okay? So we can turn it off. And we want to thank everybody, remind everybody that there's a workshop Monday here in this very room. That workshop begins at 4:30. And then the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees will be the following Monday at 6 o'clock. Happy Easter to everyone. Happy Good Friday. And recognize today as National Autism Awareness Day. So enjoy your day and have a great one. Thank you, Chip, for broadcasting this. Turn off your microphones, please.